Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're tackling new single-family homes, what's selling, how much it costs, and what's hot and not in home design. And hey, it's kind of perfect timing, right? It's both America Housing Month and the National Homeownership Month.
It is.
So to make sure we're giving you the inside scoop, we're pulling data from the U.S. Census Bureau, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Freddie Mac, and even the National Association of Realtors, just a few light reads to get us started.
Right.
So let's jump right in. Is the new home market a go for it or pump the brakes situation right now?
Well, if we're looking at just the numbers, new single-family home sales are honestly down. Like
Yeah.
in May 2024, only 619,000 new homes were sold.
Yeah, that still seems like a lot.
Oh, it is, but it's actually a pretty big drop compared to the year before, like 16.5% down. And if you look at the trends over the last, say, 2 decades, this recent dip is kind of a big deal.
Okay, so definitely some cooling down happening. What's causing this slowdown, you think?
Economic uncertainty is a huge factor. It makes sense, right? When people are worried about their jobs or just what's happening in the economy, they tend to put off those big purchases, and a house is about as big as they come.
Totally. No one wants to make a huge commitment when things feel unstable. So for those who are in a good spot to buy, what are they looking at price-wise? What's the damage?
So the national median price for a new home as of May 2024 was $417,400. But, and this is a big but, that's just an average. Location, 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 you know the drill.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Break it down for us. Where are the pricey spots and where are the maybe slightly more affordable areas?
All right, so in 2023, the Northeast took the crown for the highest median price at a whopping $760,700.
Wow.
Yeah, and close behind was the West at $536,200. Now, if you're looking for a bit of a break, the Midwest and South are your friends, with medians of $396,300 and $388,800. Still a chunk of change, but, comparatively.
Comparatively, yeah. But that price gap between regions is huge. What's driving that besides just basic supply and demand?
It's definitely more than just that. You've
Oh,
got regional economies, job markets, even things like, what people are looking for in a community, like those lifestyle preferences play a role. Take the Northeast, for example. Tons of desirable urban areas, right?
oh.
That alone drives up demand and boom, higher prices.
Right. Makes sense. People are willing to pay a premium for that city life. Okay, so let's say you've found your dream home, or at least you think you have. How are people managing to afford this, especially with these prices?
So back in 2023, about 73% of new home buyers were all about that conventional financing life.
Conventional financing, break it down for us regular folks. What does that even mean?
Basically, it's your standard mortgage loan, nothing fancy, not backed by the government or anything like that, just your good old-fashioned mortgage.
Okay, got it. So what about those who aren't going the conventional route? What other options are out there?
Well, there's always the cash buyers. They made up about 8% of the sales in 2023.
Must be nice.
Right. And then there are FHA-insured loans. Those were about 13% of new home purchases. These are super popular with first-time buyers because they're usually a bit more flexible with credit scores and down payment requirements.
Good to know, especially with how tough it can be to get into the market these days. But speaking of tough, we can't ignore the whole mortgage rate situation. They've been climbing steadily. How is that impacting affordability, especially for those who are already stretching their budget to get into a new home?
It's a big concern, for sure. In May 2024, that average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage rate hit 7.03%.
Oof, that's high.
Yeah. And for context, it was 6.94% just a week before and only 6.79% a year before that.
Wow, that's a jump.
It is. And the thing is, when interest rates go up, those monthly mortgage payments go up too. That means buyers might not qualify for as much, making it even tougher to afford their dream home, especially in those pricier areas we talked about.
It's a tough balance, for sure. Managing those monthly payments with getting a rate that makes sense for your goals. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about what these new homes actually look like. Are we talking massive mansions or cozy cottages? Give us the inside scoop.
All right, so the median size for a new single-family home in 2023 was 2,286 square feet.
Okay, so decent size.
Yeah, but again, location, location, location. It plays a huge role in the size, too.
Let me guess. Bigger is better in the Northeast.
You know it. They snagged the largest homes with a median size of 2,430 square feet for new builds. The West and Midwest were a bit smaller, both around 2,170 square feet.
Interesting. What about the layouts? Is everyone still all about those open floor plans, or are we seeing a comeback for more defined spaces?
Get this. A full 50% of new homes sold in 2023 had 4 bedrooms.
Or more?
4 bedrooms, wow.
Yeah.
Are families growing that much larger, or is it more about having those dedicated spaces, home offices, gyms, that kind of thing?
That's a great question. And it seems like, yeah, wanting those dedicated spaces, whether it's for work, hobbies, or even multi-generational living, is definitely a factor in the trend toward larger homes. And when we look at the breakdown by region, it actually gets even more interesting. The South actually takes the lead when it comes to homes with 4 more bedrooms.
The South, really?
Mm.
I always picture those charming bungalows with big porches, not mega mansions.
I don't know.
Are we seeing a change in architectural styles there, or are these larger homes just getting a southern makeover? It is fascinating, right? And it's not just about bedrooms either. Over a third, about 35% of new homes in 2023 had 3 or more bathrooms. Seems like that trend toward larger homes with more dedicated spaces is happening everywhere, no matter the style of the house itself.
3 bathrooms, now that's a luxury I could get used to. Okay, so we've covered size, layout, but what about those extra special features that really make a house a home? Anything unique or trendy happening on a regional level?
Oh, for sure. For example, it's probably not a shock that almost every new home, a whopping 98% in the West, has air conditioning.
Makes sense.
Right. Now, up in the Northeast, they're all about that vinyl siding. While down in the South, it's brick all the way. Shows how climate and regional style both come into play.
Definitely. What about heating systems? Any preferences there based on location?
Absolutely. In the South, gas and electric heating were the most common. Meanwhile, the Midwest was all about those forced air furnaces and even some heat pumps in the mix. It's a blend of what works best for the climate and what's common practice in those areas.
It's like each region has its own personality when it comes to those home features. Speaking of personality, what about outdoor spaces? Are patios and decks still as popular as everyone says?
They're huge. Only a tiny 5% of those new homes built in 2023 didn't have a patio, porch, or deck.
Wow.
Yeah, it's clear that having some outdoor living space is a top priority for new homeowners, no matter where they are.
Totally agree. I love a good outdoor space to unwind and enjoy some fresh air. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Sales trends, prices, financing, even got a sneak peek at what's inside these new homes. For our listeners who might be thinking about buying a new home themselves, what's the one thing they should keep in mind as they navigate this market?
Great question. This market can feel a bit unpredictable, but honestly, affordability is key, especially with those rising interest rates we talked about. It's all about finding that sweet spot between the home of your dreams and what you can truly afford both now and down the line.
Such good advice. Don't get in over your head. What else should listeners be thinking about as they start their home buying journey?
Don't skip the research. Really dig into the specifics of the market you're interested in. The Northeast might mean bidding wars and crazy prices, but the Midwest or South could offer more bang for your buck. At the end of the day, your needs, your priorities, and of course your budget should be your guide.
So well said. It's all about finding the right fit for you.
Exactly. And speaking of finding the right fit, we've really only just scratched the surface of this whole world of new home construction.
So we've talked about what's happening in the new home market right now, but what about the why behind it all? What's shaping these trends?
It's like, yeah, we see the numbers, the prices, the features, but what's really driving those decisions? And honestly, it's fascinating stuff.
All right, lay it on me. What are the big players behind the scenes of the housing market?
Well, we can't talk about housing trends without talking about demographics. Like, the way the American household looks is changing, and that has a huge impact on housing demand.
Demographics makes sense. What kind of shifts are we talking about specifically? What's changing the housing game?
Okay, so think about the baby boomers. Huge generation,
Yeah.
right? And they're at that point where they're starting to retire.
Right.
So as they move into this new phase of life, a lot of them are choosing to downsize, moving from those bigger family homes into something smaller, more manageable.
So less demand for those 4-bedroom homes we were talking about earlier. Are those on their way out?
Maybe, maybe not. Here's where it gets really interesting. At the same time that boomers are downsizing, you've got millennials, the biggest generation in U.S. history, and they're hitting their prime home buying years.
True, there are a lot of millennials.
Right. And they're starting families, needing more space so they could actually lead to more demand for, yep, those same larger homes.
It's like a demographic tug of war. Boomers downsizing, millennials upsizing. Who's going to win? What does that mean for the future of how new homes are built?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's not even just those two generations either. We've got to factor in immigration, how many new households are forming, even things like divorce rates. All of those things play a role in the demand for housing in different ways.
Wow, so many moving parts. It's like trying to predict the weather, but for houses. How do builders even begin to plan for all of that?
It's definitely a challenge. They're always trying to anticipate what people will want, both in terms of size and style. We're seeing a lot more creativity in design with things like multi-generational housing
That makes sense.
and those flexible floor plans that can change as families grow or needs change.
Multi-generational housing, that's a really good point. With housing costs still going up, it seems like more and more families are choosing to live together. What other innovations are you seeing pop up?
Oh, there's so much happening. Sustainable building practices are huge right now, and just generally making designs more energy efficient,
Yeah, that's more important than ever.
right? Climate change is a big deal, and the construction industry plays a part in that. So there's a real push for eco-friendly housing, and builders are coming up with some really interesting ways to deliver.
So we talking bamboo floors and solar panels everywhere. What kind of sustainable features are we actually seeing in new homes?
A lot of it is becoming pretty standard, actually. Think energy-efficient appliances, better insulation, even things like smart home technology to help people conserve energy.
Smart homes are pretty cool. Love that tech is being used to create more sustainable and efficient living spaces. What about other technological advancements? Anything else changing the game for new homes?
Oh, totally. Prefab and modular construction are becoming more common.
Oh, yeah, those are the homes that are built in a factory and then shipped to the site,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And it can be a faster process, often more cost-effective than traditional building.
Interesting. But does that mean sacrificing quality or limiting options for homeowners who want to customize?
Not at all. These are really high-quality homes, often built to even stricter standards than traditional builds. And while you might not be able to get super crazy with customization, there's still tons of room for people to put their own stamp on their space. You can pick from different layouts, finishes, all that good stuff.
So it's all about finding that balance again. Efficiency, affordability, and making it your own.
Exactly. And that's what makes it exciting. The future of home building is all about being creative, trying new things, but not losing sight of quality, making sure things are built to last. And of course, remembering that at the end of the day, these are homes for people.
I love that perspective. It's not just about building a house, but creating a home, a community, something that works with the environment and how we live today. Out of everything we've talked about, what stands out the most to you? Anything that surprised you?
That's a good one. I think what really gets me is how resilient the housing market is. I mean, we've seen economic ups and downs, these big demographic shifts, even a pandemic, and through it all, people still want to own their own homes.
It's true. It's a pretty fundamental desire.
Right. And the industry is constantly adapting, innovating to meet those needs. It shows how important it is to have a place to call your own.
Absolutely. It's more than just bricks and mortar. It's about that sense of security, belonging, having a place to put down roots.
You got it.
Hmm.
And speaking of putting down roots, we haven't even touched on the whole trend of creating communities, not just houses. That's a whole other layer of this deep dive.
Okay, creating communities, tell me more. I'm definitely intrigued by that idea. What's got you so excited about this whole trend?
It's like a shift from just like throwing up houses to actually creating places where people want to be, where they can thrive. We're moving away from those huge same-looking subdivisions and putting more thought into how communities are designed.
So, paint me a picture. What does a thoughtfully designed community actually look like? Give me the details.
Okay, so imagine this. You walk out your door and you're in a neighborhood where you can actually walk places,
Hmm.
parks, green spaces, maybe even some community gardens. You can grab a coffee or meet a friend for dinner without having to hop in your car.
I love that.
Right. And it's not just about being able to walk either. It's about having access to bike paths, public transportation, maybe even shared workspaces, all those things that make it easier to connect with your neighbors and rely less on cars.
It's like a breath of fresh air. So, it's about more than just the house itself. It's about offering a whole lifestyle sense of belonging, right?
Exactly. It's about creating that community feel, that connection. And when people feel connected to where they live and who they live near, they're more likely to stay put, invest in their community, which is good for everyone.
That makes a lot of sense. So, for our listeners out there who are on the hunt for their dream home, whether it's a new build or something that's already standing, what's one piece of advice you would give them based on all the insights we've talked about?
Honestly,
Yeah.
do your research. Don't just fall in love with a pretty picture online. Go see the community in person. Talk to the people who live there. Get a feel for the vibe.
It's like dating, but for your house.
Exactly. Ask about the builder, what their reputation is like, understand the warranty. Really picture yourself living there. It's a big decision, buying a home both financially and just emotionally. So you want to be sure you've got all the info you need to feel good about it.
Love that. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of new single family homes, what's one thing about the future of housing that has you feeling optimistic?
We talk a lot about technology and new ways of doing things, but honestly, what gets me most excited is that renewed focus on creating communities, not just houses. It's about designing spaces that bring people together, that make them feel good, that create a true sense of belonging. I love that.
Me too. It's a pretty inspiring vision for the future of housing homes that are more than just buildings, but vibrant parts of thriving communities. This has been such a fascinating conversation. Thanks for geeking out with me on all things new homes.
Anytime. I always love talking about this stuff.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel totally informed and ready to impress your friends with all your new housing knowledge. Until next time, happy house hunting.